One more episode. Season finale of Gridiron Glory about to begin. We have a lot for you, like the Elite 8 playoff coverage that's happening right now. We'll have all that and so much more. Coming up next is Gridiron Glory starts right now. Welcome everyone to the Gridiron Glory Season 22 finale. We are joined by the Player of the Year finalists and their families, as well as the Coach of the Year. Both of these will be named later. So let's get this show on the road right now. We start off with our first Player of the Year candidate. This player took his team to a round of the playoffs this team has never been before. Here's our first nominee, Carsyn Crouch. Crouch was unable to join us as Granville was playing tonight's regional finals, but we were able to talk to him earlier on in the week and hear what he had to say about this nomination and the Blue Aces run.
Throughout the season, we were winning. We got closer in the locker room, outside of practice, and we brought it to the field, and we just kept achieving things that haven't been achieved before. Being a leader, making sure that the other quarterback's ready and making sure everyone stays focused.
Granville kicked off their scoring bonanza in the second quarter with a Carsyn Crouch 10-yard touchdown run where he powered his way into the end zone.
For sure, I matured as a person and a player, and I think that's really helped us. And the fact that I was able to mature made us win more games and made everyone better around me. Mostly, I want my team to win, but it'd be a special award to win, and I think we haven't lost yet. I mean, those are my brothers, so I felt like I owed them, and I needed to get out there. I felt like I could help the team, and I thought I did help the team for the time I was out there. And it was just fun being back out there. If that was the last time, then it was, but I don't plan on it, but you never know.
Now to see if Crouch and the Blue Aces will be moving on into the Division III Final Four, Cedric Granger joins us from the field.
This week's game was a total opposite of last week's game against London for Granville. It was a chilly night in Asheville, Ohio, and the stage was set for the Aces and Broncos to battle. Granville would throw the first punch with a 12-yard Devin Haley touchdown run as he makes the Superman sign as he reaches the end zone. He's very much a superhero the whole game for the Aces as he scored again from 4 yards out this time to give the Aces a quick 15-0 lead. After that play, Western Brown would come alive on their next drive as Drew Novak found the end zone to decrease the deficit to 8 on this read option run. After trading touchdowns, Granville's Tyler Ernsberger rockets a 38-yard touchdown pass to star wideout Christian Hilton before halftime to increase their lead to 29-14. Then the Aces would build on that lead with an Ernsberger 59-yard touchdown strike to Miles Eckenrode to try to create some separation from the Broncos. Western Brown will continue to stay in the game into the fourth quarter, though, as Matt Frye catches a pass on the post corner pattern from Novak to make the score 50-42. However, Devin Haley iced the game away for the Aces with a 50-yard dash to the end zone. Granville would go up 57-42 and ultimately win 57-49.
Yeah, it seems like a high-scoring affair. How was Granville able to get off on such a hot start?
For the Aces, it was all about turnovers, Nick. Both teams came into the game with prolific offenses, so winning the turnover margin was going to be critical in this game. And Granville won the turnover battle today 3-0. Two of those turnovers happened in the opening quarter, with one pick from Caden McDermott and the other from Miles Eckenrode. The Aces went on to score off of both of those early turnovers and built a lead that they would keep the entire game. In addition, Drew Novak was hassled in the pocket throughout the opening quarter by the solid Granville linebacking core, which helped to not only create sacks and tackles for loss, but also cause these turnovers.
Now, how were the Aces able to put up those 57 points?
Nick, the Granville offense has depended on Devin Haley a lot these past few weeks to be the bell cow, and he has delivered. He ran for over 200 yards and achieved his career record for most touchdowns in a single game with 6, beating the 5 he scored earlier this year against Eastmoor. He looked unstoppable out there. In addition, Christian Hilton continues to be at star at receiver, as he had his third pass receiving touchdown in the last 3 weeks. Those two players really led the way for the Aces, who had a strong team effort in this win.
Now, Cedric, thanks for the great work. And with that victory, Granville moves on to the Final Four, where they'll take on Hamilton-Badin next Friday. Crowds were just of many of the quarterbacks that positively impacted their teams. We narrowed down the best of the best, and here are the all-GG team quarterbacks.
Piketon's Levi Gullion is our first team All-Gridiron Glory quarterback, as he was practically unguardable in the Scioto Valley League this year. Gullion had an absolutely ridiculous statistical season. In 11 games, he managed to throw for 3,075 yards and 31 passing touchdowns to go along with 1,023 yards and 21 TDs on the ground in Piketon's historic 10-1 season. The night was far from over for Gullion, as he goes right up the gut for his 4th rushing touchdown in the second quarter alone. The Red Streaks weren't only successful on the ground tonight, as Gullion strikes through the air, this time connecting with John Burton for a 64-yard bomb.
Our second quarterback on the All-GG team is the LCL Offensive Player of the Year, Cole Cantor from Newark Catholic. He led the Green Wave to a 9-1 regular season and the #1 seed in Region 27. The senior signal caller has 1,880 passing yards, 25 passing touchdowns, and 7 rushing touchdowns. He has a chance to add to these totals tomorrow night in the regional finals.
Later, Cole Cantor. He'll drop back and find his go-to man, Brandon Buchanan, 41 yards to the house, 10-0 Newark Catholic at the end of the first quarter.
Following Cole Cantor, we have Portsmouth quarterback Drew Rowe. In his final year for the Trojans, Rowe tallied up 28 total passing touchdowns over 2,235 yards. His elusiveness in the pocket is unmatched, as he easily escapes defensive pressure. And when needed, Rowe can even run the ball, rushing for 494 yards and picking up 11 rushing touchdowns over the season.
Drew Rowe dotted up wide receiver Darion Bryant for a touchdown with 1:12 on the clock.
Next up is a senior dual threat from Tri-Valley, Drew Burkhart. Burkhart was in his first year as a starter for the Scotties, but he played like he'd been there for every year of high school. He totaled over 2,200 passing yards for 28 passing touchdowns, 494 rushing yards, and 11 rushing touchdowns. Burkhart was an established leader for this team and was one of the reasons that Tri-Valley won the MVL title.
Granville's very own Carsyn Crouch is the next addition to the All-Gridiron Glory team. Crouch threw for over 1,500 yards and 16 touchdowns on the season. He didn't just do it through the year, though. He had 323 rushing yards with 6 rushing touchdowns. He led the Blue Aces to an LCL title and the first undefeated regular season since 1998.
Next drive for the Blue Aces, Carsyn Crouch does it again. Getting into the end zone with maybe a little tap on his leg, he gets his 2nd rushing touchdown of the game.
From one quarterback repping number 7 to another, Tabor Lackey is next on our All-GG team. Lackey was the field general of the Trimble Tomcats offense. It was a threat through the air and on the ground, with nearly 2,400 all-purpose yards and 30 touchdowns. Lackey was a huge reason why the Tomcats won the TVC Hawking title for the 4th consecutive season.
The Tomcats refused to quit. Tabor Lackey would find Tucker Dixon to make it a 24-20 game.
The final quarterback on our All-Gridiron Glory team is Waverly's Wade Futhey. After biding his time under Hayden Shanks, Futhey took the QB1 spot for his senior year and never looked back, throwing for 33 touchdowns and 2,823 passing yards, the second most in Southeast Ohio. The Tigers' up-tempo spread offense ran through him, and that Waverly offense flourished, leading to a 9-1 regular season and a loss to Clinton Massey in the regional quarterfinal.
You just saw this player take home first-team All-GG for the QB position, but for this athlete, he's looking for something bigger. Our next candidate for the Gridiron Glory Player of the Year is Levi Gullion.
With 408 yards of total offense.
Quarterback Levi Gullion. Gullion throws another.
Gullion again.
Gullion connected with Burton, pushing Piketon ahead 8-7.
Capped off by Gullion yet again with an easy trot off tackle into the end zone to make it a 3-score game in favor of Piketon.
I'm now joined by Levi Gullion. And Levi, tell me about your team's success, how you think you played, and how the season went.
Well, I thought I had a pretty good season. Of course, there's some little things I could have improved on, but overall I thought I had a pretty solid year. And our team success, well, even though we lost to Columbus Academy in second round, it was throughout the year. It was a very special season for us. I mean, we did things that we haven't done before, so very special year for us.
For sure, that's great to hear. And now tell me, what do you do before games to get yourself in the right mindset? Do you have any cool pregame rituals to share?
Honestly, I had nothing real special. Honestly, I stop at McDonald's usually with the boys, and we just talk about what's going to happen, how we're going to win, how we're going to execute.
Awesome. So now, when you go up against a good defense, what are you doing? What are your reads, and what do you look to expose on those defenses?
Well, in some defenses, I try to pick out who's the weak link, who should we pick on this time, and that's what I really look for. And whether they're in zone or man, that's my pre-snap thought. So that's what I really try and focus on.
Awesome, awesome. Now, do you have a guy that you like throwing to on offense? Do you have a number one go-to, or do you like to share the love?
There's two guys that I really like to throw to. They both received for about 1,200 yards, I think. They're always reliable. I mean, they catch everything, made some amazing plays.
For sure. And then looking back on the season, you went 10-1 with a trip to the playoffs. Who do you want to give credit to from the team, or anybody in general that you would like to give credit to?
The coaching staff. I mean, they never gave up on us. They stuck with us the whole time. They did a lot. And then the community. The community was very supportive all season. I mean, they did a lot for us, treated us well.
For sure. That's great to hear, and good luck. All right, thank you for coming on the show. Back to you, Nick. Now, where can you find our coverage from our Saturday playoff games? On all of our social media platforms. We'll have game recaps on our Twitter, and all of our reporters will be tweeting updates as well. For our written content, head to woub.org/gridiron. Our Instagram has you covered for pictures as well as other cool stuff like Wallpaper Wednesdays. Speaking of our Saturday playoff games, we go to Division 7 where Shadyside and Newark Catholic are set to square off in the regional finals. I'm now joined by Zach Paquette to break this one down.
Yeah, thanks, Nick. Newark Catholic comes into Saturday's contest fresh off of a 35-7 win over East Knox. And East Knox's aerial attack proved to be too much for the Trimble Tomcats 2 weeks ago. So what does Newark Catholic do to stop them? They applied pressure and lots of it on Peyton Lester, which made him rush his passes and force him to be more mobile and not just sit in the pocket. The Green Wave forced 3 turnovers and limited the high-powered East Knox offense to only 7 points. And offensively, it was Mason Hackett's night. Again, Newark Catholic definitely watched that Trimble film because Bryce Downs ran all over that Bulldog defense. And last Saturday, it was Mason Hackett's turn. Hackett ran for 117 yards and fouled the end zone 3 times.
Now what about Cole Cantor? How'd he do against East Knox?
Yeah, Cantor didn't have his best outing of the year. He only passed for 47 yards and a touchdown, but that's because the Green Wave had so much success running the ball on Saturday. And next up for the Green Wave is third-seeded Shadyside in a rematch of last year's regional title game when Newark Catholic won 10-7 over the Tigers. The Tigers will be looking for revenge, and Wyatt Raymond could be the main guy leading the way for Shadyside. Newark Catholic should be expecting a heavy dose of Raymond, but the Green Wave defense has proven its toughness in their 3 playoff games. And this could be a really tough test for Newark Catholic this Saturday night.
Thanks, Zach. And one player that was able to find the end zone against those Shadyside Tigers, and our second finalist for our Gridiron Glory Player of the Year, is Holden Dailey.
Nobody can stop him.
Running back Holden Dailey. Star of the show was most definitely Dailey.
I mean, it'd be pretty sweet to bring the award back home. I mean, show all the hard work my team's done, and linemen especially.
As Holden Dailey fields the opening kick of the half and goes untouched 90 yards into the end zone, cutting the deficit 20-7.
Coaching staffs, they're always there for you. They always preach to be physical and tough. I mean, they want you to be real physical. I was hurt a little bit, came back in the last 2 plays, scored the game-winning touchdowns. It was pretty sweet.
And I'm now joined by Holden Dailey. And Holden, what was your initial reaction like when you found out you were one of 5 finalists up for Gridiron Glory Player of the Year?
Well, I wasn't really expecting it at all. I mean, I was just laying on the couch, scrolling through Instagram, and I saw it, and I'm like, sweet. I mean, it's a big honor.
Yeah, and Holden, if you were to win this award, you'd be the first person to win this award from Waterford. What would that mean to you and the Waterford community?
I think it'd be big for the community. It's a big football community. Everybody loves our football team, and we haven't done it, so it's the first time. It'd be awesome.
Yeah, now we've seen you play on both sides of the ball, offense and defense. Do you have a preference on which side of the ball you play on?
I like them both a lot, but definitely offense, I think.
Right, it makes sense. I mean, you were nominated as a running back. Makes a lot of sense. And changing gears a little bit, was there any football player or athlete that you looked up to, you know, as a kid when you were playing football?
Well, my freshman year, I played with Braden Belleville. He was a stud. I mean, he showed me the ropes of running back. It was great. He was a great running back.
Gotcha. Yeah, Braden Belleville was a great player. And what does this Waterford team mean to you, this one in particular?
It's a brotherhood. I mean, they were all family. I know I could go to any one of them for anything. They were all there.
Yeah, speaking of brotherhood, what's your relationship like with Grant McCutcheon and Coach McCutcheon as well?
Well, me and Grant, we've been best friends forever. I mean, we've played football, basketball, a little bit of baseball together. It's great. And then Coach McCutcheon, he's been there too. He's a great coach. Really helped us out.
Right, Holden. And we thank you for coming on. And Holden, you are one of the many great running backs in the 740 to showcase more of your insane talent. Here are some of the running backs that made our all-GG team for the running backs.
Leading off the running backs is the senior from Sheridan and Gridiron Glory Player of the Year candidate, Jason Munyan. To say the least, Munyan had one of the most decorated individual 4 years in Sheridan history. Munyan had over 1,600 rushing yards this season, including 25 touchdowns, which put his name at the top for Sheridan records in most career rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, and total touchdowns. Stats aside, the way Munyan runs the rock is like no other, as he doesn't care who's in his way. He will leave a legacy for the Generals as one of the best to represent the Red Rage and truly show what it's like to have a right mental attitude.
Jaden LeBeau has been a huge asset for the Miami Trace Panthers this year, and with these stats, there is no reason to disagree. Jaden rushed for an insane 1,830 yards, having an average 10.2 yards per carry. With that, he also had 17 rushing touchdowns, proving to be a key scorer for the Panthers. No doubt, Jaden's senior season was one of the best performances of his high school career. One of the key players for Trace's offense Friday night was Jaden LeBeau, as he was a leader of majority of the Lions' explosive offense for his rushing.
Holden Dailey has exploded onto the scene for Waterford this year. One of the finalists for Gridiron Glory Player of the Year, he's racked up over 1,800 all-purpose yards and 25 touchdowns. His presence is felt on both sides of the football for the Wildcats.
He's a powerful runner that always racks up yards after first contact and is a threat every time he touches the ball. He scored the first 2 touchdowns for the Wildcats and looked likely to score on almost every carry. And remember how I said he could do it all? He was the tackler on Waterford's early safety. He looked absolutely unstoppable tonight.
What a season it was for Dailey, and up next is a sophomore who also had an amazing season. Jason Williams from Warren ran for 1,205 yards, 12 rushing touchdowns, and he averaged 9 yards a carry. He also added 38 tackles on defense.
Jason Williams scored the first touchdown in the new Coliseum, taking the handoff from quarterback Trent Taylor and rushing 65 yards into the end zone to give Warren a 7-0 lead early in the second quarter after a scoreless first.
Following Williams is another sophomore in Jackson's Cade Wolford. Wolford did it all for the Ironman, making big plays in the air and on the ground. He ended the season with 873 rushing yards, 450 receiving yards, and 16 total touchdowns. The sophomore also showed his defensive prowess in the playoffs against Eastmoor as he hauled in 2 interceptions. Still in the first quarter, Jackson forces a fumble that's recovered by Brody Butcher, and that leads to this strike by Jacob Leonards to Cade Wolford, who walks into the end zone for the touchdown.
After setting the single-season school record for rushing yards for the Vinton County Vikings, Zane Carr secured a spot on the All-Gridiron Glory team. Carr finished the season with 1,350 rushing yards, averaging 7 yards a carry, while also rushing for 16 touchdowns. Carr played a crucial role in getting the Vikings their first season above 500 since 2004.
Vikings charging back to keep their hopes alive in the fourth quarter as Zane Carr punches it into the end zone. However, the 2-point conversion attempt would fall just short.
Last but certainly not least, running back Wyatt Ryman is the all-time leading rusher in Shadyside Tigers history and was named Eastern District Division 7 Offensive Player of the Year. The senior captain is unstoppable on the field as he can rush through almost any defensive player, time after time after time. He is the most dependable to pick up a good chunk of yardage going straight into the end zone. He led the Tigers to the Region 27 championship game, where they will face off against Newark Catholic.
Now, onto a player that dominated his 4 years of high school, crushing school record after school record. Our next Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist, Jason Munyan.
It'd feel pretty good. I mean, it's something I strive for since freshman year, you know. Around there, it means a lot because it's hard to do.
And who better to hand it off to than Jason Munyan?
This is how varsity level is. This ain't JV anymore. Just breaking records, really. And shared in history, it's hard to do. That was something to remember.
Now with me is the man himself. He needs no introduction, Jason Munyan. Jason, thanks for taking time out of your Friday night to be here. Yep. All right, so let's get it started off. Just an overall reflection question about your season. Talk about what you think and how you played this season. What are some things you think that you maybe could have done better, and just talk about your success.
My team, beginning of this season, I was like, man, it's going to be kind of a tough run, but towards the end of the season, mid-season, I was like, man, we actually stepped up a lot more than what I thought we would. As Coach said last night, I was last in passing yards and stuff, so I feel like I work on my pass game. That's what I could do a lot better. But no, other than that, I feel there's little things I could worked on, but I didn't really push myself that hard.
Right, and with all the records that you broke, that's where my next questions is, but it's good to hear what a player as great as you still has some improvement in your game that you think you should work on. So now speaking of, I'm sure you probably hear about it a lot, the amount of records you broke and shared, and I'm just going to name 3. The most career rushing yards, most career rushing touchdowns, and most career touchdowns.
What does it mean to you to have your name in the Sheridan record books and at the top of the Sheridan record books for the rest of the time?
It means a lot. I talk to these older guys that come up to me, congratulate me, and say, man, that's something really hard to do in Sheridan history. And to me, that feels like a lot because I was there and I broke those records, and now I'm in the books.
Right. And now more of a Gridiron Glory Player of the Year related question. Every single time we talk, this season, last season, you always give credit to your teammates. If you were to win the award, how much of this award would be dedicated to your teammates and your coaches?
It'd mean a lot. I talk about my teammates all the time, especially my line. If I could give this award to anyone, it'd probably be my offensive lineman this year, last year. But my coach has done a lot. Coach Chad, running back coach, he's taught me a lot throughout the years. Coach Culver, he's been there. He's a guy that's been there, done that. So they walk me through a lot.
Truly one of the most selfless guys. Thank you so much for being here, and best of luck to you in your future. Now, Nick, we're going to kick it right back to you.
Now we mentioned Crouch and Gullion, but what about the players they're throwing to? Here are those that made the cut for our All-GG for wide receivers.
The first wide receiver to be named on our All Gridiron Glory first team is none other than Will Futhey of Waverly. After a monster junior season last year, Futhey came into this year with a new quarterback and as the main weapon, putting a target on his back and drawing double teams nearly every snap. Despite this, he still delivered the goods for the Tigers, catching 52 passes for 711 receiving yards and 11 touchdowns. Futhey's stellar season has additionally gotten him recognized as a finalist for Gridiron Glory Player of the Year. Futhey was a menace on both sides of the ball, making plays everywhere you look, playing nearly every down.
The other first team All Gridiron Glory wide receiver is Piketon's Cameron Lohr. Lohr was an absolute weapon for the Red Streak's high-powered offense this season. Needless to say, Lohr gathered his fair share of touches in Piketon's electric offense. He reeled in 61 catches for 1,289 yards and 15 touchdowns this season. When you add star quarterback Levi Gullion and a receiving partner in crime in Johnny Burton, it is clear why Piketon was able to score so many points in their undefeated regular season.
Continuing the streak that is Piketon football, Johnny Burton. His Madden-style football catches totaled for 67 receptions this season. He racked up 1,224 receiving yards and 12 receiving touchdowns. His explosive offense led Piketon to an SVC championship and playoff win, a first in school history. The Red Streaks responded quickly with Piketon's dynamic duo of the night. Quarterback Levi Gullion and running back John Burton owned the field. Gullion connected with Burton for a 71-yard touchdown, pushing Piketon ahead 8-7.
The list for wide receivers in the 740 area keeps getting longer, this time with Colin Oberdick of the St. Clairsville Red Devils. Oberdick recorded just under 40 receptions on the season for a total of over 900 receiving yards with 13 touchdowns to his name. This powerhouse of a player helped lead the Red Devils to a Buckeye 8 League Conference title once again.
Another top receiver in the 740 is Tri-Valley Scotty's senior, Jalen Goins-Chandler. Goins-Chandler was a beast this season as he stuffed the stat sheet and even had spectacular plays for the camera. His season totals include 44 receptions for just over 500 receiving yards and 7 touchdowns. He was a big part of Tri-Valley's success in the MVL this year and finished his career strong as a Scotty, being one of Drew Burkhart's favorite targets.
A lot of great receivers hailing from the 740, but next on our All Gridiron Glory team is Ty Perkins from Ironton. Perkins, the 3-star receiver and ranked 3rd receiver in Ohio by 247 Sports, was a valuable deep threat for the offense. Perkins also made first team All Southeast District in Division 5. Perkins proved to be an offensive threat consistently, even through the struggle with alternating quarterbacks.
Granville's Christian Hilton has made the All Gridiron Glory team. Hilton made a huge impact for the Blue Aces on both offense and defense. He's came down with 48 receptions for a grand total, 665 yards, and 6 receiving touchdowns. On the defensive side of the ball, he has 41 tackles and is looking for more. He is still a junior, so will be getting more of Christian Hilton next season.
Carsyn Crouch down the deep ball to Christian Hilton, who breaks the tackle and reaches the end zone, giving Granville a 7-0 lead early.
Finishing things off for the wide receivers is Keegan Millender. Talk about doing it all. Millender was the ultimate gadget player. He had 800 yards from scrimmage and was a threat in the return game with 128 yards. He found the end zone 8 times for the Generals this year. He also did his thing on defense. The Pirates went for it on 4th and 10 from the Ridgewood 15, but Keegan Millender makes a huge open field tackle just short of the sticks. Generals get the ball back, chance to score.
A player that's been so good, defenses are willing to double team him. But even with that, it isn't enough. Our next Gridiron Glory Player of the Year finalist, Waverly wide receiver, Will Futhey.
All Gridiron Glory first team is none other than Will Futhey.
I just like to go deep and score touchdowns, you know. Especially with Wade, with all the injuries he's had. I'd like to see him even be able to play senior year and start and do as well as he did. It really made me proud. It was probably, I kind of cherish that more than I do really mine, honestly. To win something as prestigious as that would be pretty nice. And I mean, it would just really show, you know, the hard work you have to put in, not just as a player, but as a team and community, and it'd be nice to take it down to Waverly. You know.
We want to thank Will for being able to come in earlier this week to be able to chat with us about his nomination for this award, but sadly he was unable to be here tonight. So moving on, players that can block and they can catch are able to shine on both ends of that spectrum. They were able to make their way to the top of the tight ends of the Southeast Ohio and be a part of our all-GG team. Here are those players.
Now moving to tight end, we have Tanner LeMaster for the Washington Courthouse Blue Lions. LeMaster's size and athleticism help establish him as one of the top receiving threats in our coverage. He ended the year with 38 catches and over 400 yards receiving. He also tallied 6 touchdowns. And he's not done quite yet. This was LeMaster's junior season, so we're sure to see plenty more from him next year.
Quarterback Troy Thompson launches a Hail Mary down to the goal line, and his prayer is answered. Tanner LeMaster wins the game on a miracle play. 27-21, Courthouse wins their conference opener.
We've talked a lot about these players so far, and many of them are a part of our Saturday slate in the regional finals. One of these games features Fort Frye. As the Rough Riders and the Cadets are getting ready for a showdown, reporter Claire Geary joins us to give us a look at what Saturday has to offer.
Nick, thank you so much. And Saturday night, it's certainly going to be a show for the fans to watch. The Fort Frye Cadets have capitalized on the season by playing a tight offensive plays versus the widespread route that the West Jefferson Rough Riders have to offer. Long passes in the run game have been productive so far with players such as Mason Long and Owen Brown, with passes coming from Ian Ellis, but only in part to the triple option wishbone scheme that they like to play. It's been effective in continuing their perfect season over teams such as Nelsonville, York, and most recently Barnesville, as head coach Eric Huck contributes the success to the guys on the front line for making holes with the strong backs to run the ball. As for West Jefferson, heads-up plays on special teams have helped swing the momentum in their favor early on in games such as their last versus Fairland. However, players such as Hayden Saylor are a threat to the Cadet defense as he connects with his quarterbacks to run the ball up the middle or look for passes downfield. The two squads get fired up to play against each other in the regional championship hosted at a neutral site in Logan.
It seems both teams are coming in accomplished as the Cadets are looking to defend the region after defeating the Shamrocks 42-7 in the regional semifinals.
Now, for the Rough Riders, they are the new kids on the block for Region 23. They moved from the southwest to the southeast this season and continue to make noise as they defeated Fairland. The last time West Jeff won a regional title was all the way back in 2019.
It's sure to be a good one tomorrow night. Claire, thanks for all your hard work over the last 4 years.
Nick, it's been an honor to tell the stories of all of these student athletes in the 740 area.
Thank you. They're a quarterback's best friend, and they hold the line every Friday night. Here are the best offensive linemen in the 740 and a part of our all-GG team.
First up on the first team all-GG O-line is senior Casey Brooker. Casey this year has been a leader for the Fort Frye Cadets, leading them to a Region 23 finals. Casey's performance this year led him to be the Division 6 Eastern District Co-Offensive Player of the Year and is also a two-way starter, getting 9 tackles for loss.
Next up for the O-line is 3-star behemoth Avery Henry. The 6'6" Mauler was the anchor up front for a St. Clairsville offense that ran for 254 yards per game and 46 touchdowns during the regular season. Would you like some syrup with those pancakes? 54 of them on the year. Oh yeah, and Division 4 Eastern District Co-Offensive Player of the Year as a lineman.
Our next man up on the first team offensive line is Rylan Cecil from the Ironton Tigers. Cecil, one of the commanding seniors for the offense, was named first team Division 5 Southeast District. Cecil paved the way for the Ironton offense to flex their powerful run game and even made some room for Jaquez Keys.
Also receiving all GG first team recognition is Fairland's Casey Hudson. The senior guard paved the way for a dominant rushing attack that ran all over the Ohio Valley Conference. Hudson was a force on the defensive line as well, getting to the quarterback 13 times and tallying 121 tackles on the season. For his efforts, Hudson received Division 6 first team All Southeast District recognition.
Last on the first team O-line is Holden Bowen. Bowen commanded Sheridan's offensive line this season, creating running lanes for Player of the Year candidate Jason Munyan. Bowen also got it done defensively, playing as an interior lineman. His contributions on both sides of the ball earned him the title of MVL Offensive Lineman of the Year.
On our all Gridiron Glory offensive line, we have A.J. Maniaci from Tays Valley. Maniaci made the Mid-State League first team and a Central District Division II first team as an offensive lineman. Maniaci led a powerful offensive line that cleared the way for the Vikings' tough rushing attack led by Camden McDaniel. Tays Valley finished the regular season with a 9-1 record before getting eliminated in the second round.
And there you have it, all of our best offensive players in our area. Here are the trading cards of the first team All GG offense, as well as those that had incredible stats that were able to make the list. We'll move on to our defense later on in the show. We have had 5 finalists for our Coach of the Year. They all show that they were proven leaders on the sideline. This coach went above and beyond to rebuild his team from being 0-10 the year before taking over to being a playoff contender this year. Our Coach of the Year is Melvin Cunningham from Fairland High School. And Coach, welcome on the show. And first again, congrats on a historic season for Fairland. Now, looking at your career at Fairland and what you were able to do in taking them from 0-10 to where they are now, what does that meant for you?
You know, it's meant a lot, but I think it speaks volumes about the individuals that we have on our staff, the players that God has blessed me to coach along the way. So, I'm standing here accepting this award, but realistically, it should be the individuals that I'm blessed to work with every day and coach.
And you've instilled Fairland into wanting to be a household name. You've kind of done that this season by the playoff run that you were able to do. Now, moving forward, how are you going to make them more of a household name?
You know, I think that we'll just continue doing the things that we do. We don't talk a lot about winning. Winning's a byproduct of the things that we do on a daily basis. So, we have our core values and, we just strive to achieve our core values on a daily basis. And we know if we can accomplish those aspects of things, winning will take care of itself.
And those core values that you mentioned, just what are the big ones in particular that you really want to instill into your team?
We kind of do it on a daily basis. I mean, when we talk about being energetic on Monday, so energy is our big thing. Tuesday, it's about competing. I think that the one thing that's lost in a lot of individuals is they're just competing. I think that we try to teach that in everything that we do. Every practice, because on Friday nights, that's definitely what you have to do. Wednesday, Wednesday for us is about doing the small things, and we say it's called making your bed. Thursday is we do chapel service as family, and I think the biggest thing with us is we love one another. And then, Friday is obviously the payday, so we kind of talk and things like that. So those are the things that we want to preach on a daily basis. It's about being mentally and physically tough, and and like I said earlier, those aspects of things are the things that we strive for, because that's what winning's about, and that's what usually pole vaults us to where we were able to accomplish this season.
And you mentioned those individuals that you are with on a daily basis. And one group in particular, your senior class, you have a lot of trust in them. How does that feel to be a coach, to be able to allow all that trust onto them so that they are able to handle their business?
You know, I think that the one thing that we do is, you know, we try to develop leaders, and we've been blessed with this senior class. I mean, it starts out with J.D. Brumfield. You got Xander Smith, Casey Hudson, Riley Kazee. And, you know, it means a lot. I mean, when you can go out there and you can kind of turn the game over to those guys, it definitely means a lot. They're just an extension of me on the, you know, from the sidelines. And, you know, it was a blessing to have those young men every week on our team.
And thanks again, Coach, for coming on, and congratulations for the award. And thank you again for being here.
Hey, thank you. Appreciate it.
Now looking at the defensive side of the ball and the stars on this line that shine this season. Here are the top defensive linemen in the 7-4-0.
They say that defense wins championships, and the first player on our list is on his way to doing just that. Starting off the All-Gridiron Glory defensive line is Bloom-Carroll's Luke Farrell. The MSL Buckeye Defensive Player of the Year has been an absolute nightmare for offensive lines all season. Farrell accounted for 31 tackles for a loss, 9 sacks, and 5 forced fumbles. For his efforts, he was named the Central District Division IV Defensive Player of the Year, beating out other players on our list.
Our next first-team defensive lineman was a menace to CBC Buckeye offenses all year long. London's number 54, Thad Huff, got it done in the trenches for the Red Raiders, and he has the hardware to prove it too. Huff earned the title of CBC Buckeye Co-Defensive Player of the Year, as well as the Central District Division III Defensive Player of the Year. Needless to say, Huff was a vital part of this dominant Red Raiders defense that only allowed 7.6 points per game in the CBC Buckeye this season.
The last first-team All-Gridiron Glory defensive lineman is Heath's Gavin Postlethwaite. He was the anchor of the Bulldogs defense in the trenches game in and game out. Postlethwaite finished as an All-Central District Division IV first-team player, and his stats are as followed: 111 tackles, 43 tackles for loss, 9 forced fumbles, and a defensive touchdown. He was nothing short of dominant for the Bulldogs this year.
As the defensive line was able to create great penetration here and be able to tackle the back in the backfield.
Also receiving some recognition for his work on the defensive line is Nathan Cochran. Cochran, the big man in the middle for the Tigers, the senior was one of the biggest parts that made this Tiger defense so tough to crack all season long. Cochran also one of the most consistent keys of this defense.
And Region 4, Division 15, Bloom-Carroll and St. Clairsville met in a rematch for the regional title. Brian Kerp joins us now. And Brian, how did this one shake out?
Yeah, Nick, last year's meeting between these two teams was a lopsided win for Bloom-Carroll. This year, well, it was a little bit closer. Only one team can take home that regional title trophy. Bloom-Carroll going for its second straight win over St. Clairsville to claim it. On the Bulldogs' opening drive, Chase Plants, he gets in to draw first blood. Bloom-Carroll up 7-0, and that was actually your score at the half. Lots of defense in this one. The Red Devils came out of the locker room in the second and marched their way down the field. Andrew Era fakes the handoff to the back, instead throws it, and Colin Overdick catches it, putting the Red Devils in the red zone. However, they settled for a field goal, making it 7-3. Now here's a sneak preview. St. Clairsville going downfield to get on the next drive. Vera looking for his man, but he is picked off by Bo Wisecarver. Hey, you could hear his name later in the show. That interception gives it back to the Bulldogs, and a dog pound absolutely loves it. On BC's offensive possession, Plants gets the pitch from KJ Benedict, and he is going, and he is gone for 6 more for the Bulldogs. 14-3 Bloom-Carroll in the fourth. Now the Red Devils trying to mount a comeback. Vera coming middle, but Andrew Marshall says, not today, that is my ball, and this ball game is Bloom-Carroll's. The Bulldogs claim their second straight regional title with a 14-3 victory.
By the looks of it, the final score, it was definitely a defensive game, as you said. Now, how did Bloom-Carroll have the advantage?
Well, Nick, all season long, it was all about Bloom-Carroll's defense, and it showed again tonight that it is one of the best units in the state. The Bulldogs allowed just 9 points in their previous 6 games and continued that domination tonight. The Bulldogs held St. Clairsville to just 120 yards and gave quarterback Andrew Vera trouble all evening long. We saw 2 in the highlights, but Vera had 3 interceptions in this ball game. Other than that, field goal, the Red Devils hit in the third. They didn't come virtually close to the red zone all evening long. And on a night where the offense wasn't at its best for Bloom-Carroll, the defense was spot on, and that is what championship teams are built with.
And as we know, this is the Bulldogs' second straight regional title in Division 4. What has made this team a blue blood?
Well, Nick, it's that defense that led them to the Final Four last year and also was dominant this year. But the difference that puts the Bulldogs at the higher level is that offense. Although it wasn't true tonight, the offense has put up a lot of points in most of its games this season. The Bulldogs have the defense. The Bulldogs have the offense. Now they are just 2 wins away from hosting a state title. And Nick, it's been great covering games with you and going on Gridiron Glory with you and covering all of these great teams throughout the 7-4-0. And also I want to extend a congratulations to all the Player of the Year candidates that are back in Athens.
Looking forward to seeing if the Bulldogs can finish the job. Stay warm, Brian, and of course, get back to Athens safe. And with that victory, Bloom-Carroll moves on to the Final Four, where they wait to find out their next opponent, which will be announced by the OHSAA this weekend. The linebackers are at the helm of any defense. Here are those that were able to contain the offense effectively and make our all-GG team.
Starting off the linebackers for first team All Gridiron Glory 22 is Colt Seacrest of the Bel Air Big Reds. Over the course of the season, Seacrest recorded 77 tackles, 5 interceptions, and 2 pick sixes. And that's just on defense. He's the threat on offense too, with a total of 10 touchdowns, 5 of which being rushing, the others in the air. Not to mention, the man threw one for himself. He has been nominated for awards all season as well, such as being a finalist for the Ohio Valley Conference Ironman Award.
Next at linebacker, we have the Southeast Division III Defensive Player of the Year, Jackson's Grant Maston. Senior linebacker helped lead a dominant defensive unit for the Ironmen week in and week out. He ended the year with 125 tackles and 5 sacks. Jackson's defensive coordinator, Jake Taylor, talked about Maston's impact on his teammates.
Grant really is the catalyst to our defense. He's the leader on defense. When he's in the game, he's a spark of energy. They can look to him to, he's going to make the big play.
Joining the previous 2 as a first-team linebacker is London's Isaiah Jones. According to 24/7 Sports, Jones is a 3-star recruit and the 16th best linebacker in the state of Ohio in the class of 2022. As a Red Raider, he earned CBC Buckeye Co-Defensive Player of the Year.
Green pass by Isaiah Jones intercepts the pass, and he could go all the way. Touchdown London. That gives them an early lead, and plays like that are why Jones is regarded as one of the best linebackers in the state.
Rounding out our starting all-GG linebacking core is Fairland's J.D. Brumfield. Brumfield led a Dragons defense who only gave up an average of 12 points per game in the regular season. Throughout the campaign, Brumfield racked up 131 total tackles, 8 sacks, and 8 forced fumbles. Offensively, he was equally effective, carrying the rock for nearly 1,400 yards and 22 touchdowns.
Shovels one over to star senior back J.D. Brumfield, who shows his speed in the second level, getting to the outside edge, and then his power as he bulldozes his way to a score.
Moving over to our All Gridiron Glory team members, we start with linebacker Ryan Sissel from Portsmouth West. Sissel anchored the Senators' defense, registering 103 tackles and 2 picks. The two-way player also rushed for 1,518 yards and 12 touchdowns as the Senators' feature back. This time giving it to running back Ryan Sissel, who finds a hole up the middle and dances his way into the end zone to extend the lead to 28.
Now we have Chillicothe linebacker Maxwell Lee. The junior was flying all over the field for the Cavaliers, notching 86 tackles and 3 sacks. Lee was also able to play off the ball, snagging 2 picks on the season. The linebacker also doubled as a running back for the Cavs, tallying 387 yards on the ground and 8 rushing touchdowns. Lee will be a captain on this Chillicothe defense for his senior season.
What a great season from Lee. Next up, we have Carsyn Williams, the captain of the Pirates' defensive ship and one of the best linebackers in Wheelersburg history. Williams was also named first team All-Southeast District, and he led his team to the regional title game versus Harvest Prep.
If you've ever seen Newark Catholic play, chances are you saw number 42 flying around the field defensively. That would be Elijah Wallace, who is the next on our All-GG team. Wallace was the leader for the Green Wave defense, and his efforts were good enough to earn him Central District Division VII Defensive Player of the Year and LCL Cardinal Defensive Player of the Year.
Rounding out the linebackers is TVC Ohio Defensive Player of the Year, junior Leighton Logie from Nelsonville, New York. Logie was the leader of a hard-hitting Buckeye defense that only allowed over 21 points once in the regular season. Leighton had 141 tackles on the year, as well as 35 receptions and 6 receiving touchdowns on the offensive side of the ball.
Drew Carter, he's going to bring in the snap, drop back to pass, and deliver a beautiful spiral to Leighton Logie, who hangs onto it through the swat from Grady Wolf.
The quest for vengeance has been achieved for the Wheelersburg Pirates, as they advance to the Division 5 Region 19 Regional Championship game. Curtis Fader joins us once again to break down and what to expect more from tomorrow for the Pirates.
Thanks, Nick. Now, Wheelersburg showed its toughness this season, beating bitter rivals on their postseason run, and they will look to reach the Final Four of Division 5 for the first time since 2018. The Pirates have shown themselves to be the cardiac kids of Southeast Ohio with comeback victories in each of their 3 playoff games. After trailing 14-10 at half, the Bird came back and took care of home field advantage with their smothering defense against the Portsmouth West Senators. And they won that game 23-14, and the score was very similar when they took on Ridgewood last year, and they avenged their playoff loss to them by coming back down 10 late in the third quarter to beat the Generals 24-20. And last week, Wheelersburg flipped the script against Ironton after losing to them 40-6 week 1. But this time around, they forced 5 turnovers, and they scored the game-winning touchdown with less than 2 minutes left in the game to send the state-contending Fighting Tigers home 17-14.
Now the 2017 state champs are looking to rekindle their former glory, but Harvest Prep stands in their way of a Final Four. Do you think they'll take it?
Well, this is not a team to be taken lightly, Nick, because these Warriors have looked dominant in their postseason run, winning 2 of their 3 playoff games by over 40 points. For Wheelersburg to slow these guys down, they'll need to be able to move the ball on the ground and keep the ball out of Harvest Prep's hands while finishing off those drives. Ethan Glover has been helping in the scoring department with 4 rushing touchdowns in his last 3 games. The Elite 8 matchup will take place at Waverly's Radiger Field Saturday at 7 p.m. with a trip to Canton on the line.
Excellent analysis as always, Curtis. Thanks for the great work all season long. This next group was able to contain even the best wide receivers. The areas they covered could also be referred to as no-fly zones. Here are the defensive backs that made the All-GG team.
Leading off the first team All-Gridiron Glory defensive backs is Bloom-Carroll's Bo Wisecarver. Wisecarver is a leader for the Bulldogs defense with 57 tackles and 2 interceptions. Wisecarver can also carve up opposing defenses as he has 558 receiving yards and 5 touchdowns. The Bulldogs look for a trip to their 2nd straight state Final Four tonight against St. Clairsville.
Trent Taylor trying to move the Warriors downfield, but Bo Wisecarver, he had a different plan in mind. That ball was going in the other direction.
The second defensive back on the first team All-Gridiron Glory team from the Fort Frye Cadets, Mason Long. He was the co-offensive player of the year in the Division 6 East District. On the defensive side of the ball, he has 6 interceptions, and on the offensive side of the ball, he has 1,060 yards and 21 total touchdowns. Long and the Cadets play West Jefferson in the regional title game. The Cadets got the ball back and didn't waste any time as Mason Long ran past multiple defenders for a touchdown.
Next up for defensive backs, we have Penn Morrison out of Waverly. Morrison ended the season with 8 interceptions for the Tigers defense, but he wasn't only a ball hawk in the secondary. As a receiver, Morrison had 65 receptions for over 1,100 yards and 15 touchdowns, helping to give the Tigers a potent air attack. Forcing Minford to punt on their opening drive, Penn Morrison for the Tigers returns the kick all the way to the house for a 75-yard touchdown to put Waverly up 7-0 early in the game.
For our last defensive back on first team All-GG, it's Colt Emerson from John Glenn. The Little Muskies had a dominant season, especially on the defensive side of the ball, including shutouts against Sheridan and Maysville. Emerson, only a junior, was the centerpiece as he had 5 interceptions this season, truly deserving and rounding out this talented group of defensive specialists.
First up on the All-GG team, we have Burn Union safety Bray Friesner. Friesner was named Central District Division 7 Player of the Year. He had 71 tackles, 4 interceptions, and 2 forced fumbles for the Rockets. First, intercepting Hobie Rake's pass in the back of the end zone, then catching a screen pass from Nemeth, and after a great block from number 77 Carter Carpenter, he takes it 69 yards to the house. It's 27-7 Rockets.
Next up is Meadowbrook defensive side Hunter Eubanks. Eubanks dominated defensively with 3 interceptions, but he was also a force to be reckoned with offensively, totaling 829 receiving yards. With this, Eubanks earned himself Muskingum Valley League Small Division Defensive Back of the Year and a spot on our Gridiron Glory Team of the Year.
Rounding out our All-Gridiron Glory defensive backs is Nate Hunter from Amanda Clear Creek. Hunter hunted down the ball carriers all season en route to 40 tackles. He also had 3 interceptions. Hunter was also starting quarterback for the Aces and threw for 2,000 yards and had 19 total touchdowns.
Well, Hunter can play quarterback, but he's also quite a good defensive back. He picked up 2 crucial INTs in the red zone.
Now they say defense wins championships, and I put this defense up against anyone, and not many points are going to be scored. Here is the entire All-GG defensive lineup. Now we got to 49 players, so what's missing? Duh, the kicker. Here is the best kicker in the 7-4-0 to round out our All-GG Team of the Year.
Our All Gridiron Glory first team special team specialist is Braxton Salmons of Wheelersburg. He scored 70 points for the Pirates this season, going 37 for 38 on extra points and hitting 11 field goals. His season long was from 43 yards, but his range can go well beyond that. Salmons is arguably better as a punter, sending missiles while pinning opponents inside the 20-yard line 19 times this season, averaging 42 yards per punt. Number 80 made major contributions to the Berg as they reached the regional final for the first time since 2018.
50 of the best players in Southeast Ohio in their respective positions. These players went above and beyond all year to make the list and be the best in their positions. And now the question I'm still asking myself, and I'm sure many of y'all are asking the same, is who's the best of the best? And now we'll find out who it is. We've been waiting for this moment all season long, and I have it in this envelope right here. Now, let's see who it is. As the 2021 Gridiron Glory Player of the Year is Levi Gullion. And now, here you go. I've been able to have this all weeks, but sadly, it's all you now. The one question I had to ask myself is, how are you feeling about this now?
Oh, it's a great feeling. I mean, I haven't won many of this type of award before. This is an honor. It's really appreciate it.
And thanks again, and congrats again for a great season. And here you go.
Thank you.
And so that will do it for this show and this season. And thank you to all the players and coworkers that have been able to make this show incredible and memorable. For one last time, and always remember, there's nothing better than Friday nights and Gridiron Glory.